that to teach other people teamwork, communication, leadership, relationship stuff, I think it's fair enough you demonstrate as a company that you've got 26 years of maintaining stable relationships internally within the company and externally with our suppliers, clients, people we work with. And, you referenced a lot of team building companies that come and go, and that's not something to gloat about, because the funny thing is, as a business, you don't like to see other businesses fail. You want to see other businesses in your industry perform well and do things well that validate what you do. Good competition is actually not a bad thing because it can expand the market. But long story short, mate, I think a lot of people get into facilitating team development, leadership development, because it's kind of about their own narrative. And I think a lot of the times, a lot of companies that get into it, their own egos, when they form those relationships, clash. And consequently, the irony is they don't often perform well as teams themselves. There's a few companies we work with around the world who've been around as long as us, in Germany, the United States, the UAE, and those companies, I guess, have a similar ethos to us. You try to practice what you preach in terms of working as a team, put the ego in the boot and get it done, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well,
and there's a lot of team building companies around the world who haven't practiced what they preach, and that's why they're not still here, in my humble opinion. I don't know what Meg would think about that, but...
I agree with what you're saying, but with what you were saying before, Drew, about do you ever stand up and go, what the hell am I doing here? Like, sometimes you're standing in front of a group and you feel like you're 12, you're like, why are you letting me do this? It's that. I think there's a term
imposter
for it.
syndrome.
There it is.
It's true. Yeah. You're like, shit, do I really know all this stuff?
I've got 500 people listening and I'm like, put your hands on their heads. And they all put their hands on their heads. You're like, wow. I can't believe they did that.
But huge companies, like...
It's best I don't think about it.
You guys actually go, yeah.
Oh, it does. It does mess with your head. Do you know what really smacked me? The first gig I did for the UN. And it was a weird thing, mate, because it came through training and accrediting some UN trainers who are based out of Turin, which is where their leadership academy is. And I got signed up to do this first gig for them, and I was very excited because the kudos that comes with that professionally is enormous.
Yeah, it's hard to crack the United
But when you sign off on the contracts, and the UN contracts are quite tight and there's huge expectations on you, and they do background checks on you in every respect, and the payment is performance-based, this kind of guff. And I'm sitting back going, man, all of a sudden it hit me, I've got to deliver to these people who are world level, quite high level folks from the UN, and you do get a little bit of that twinge of wow, I'm about to cross this threshold, and all of a sudden you got to back yourself and go, well, hang on a minute, we have been doing this a while, and now that I think about it, there's a lot of weird stuff stored up here in the grey matter that hopefully is going to come out in the right way at the right time and in the right order. But no, there are times, mate, when you absolutely will get that, crikey, how did I get here? And these dudes are taking on board, in quite a meaningful way what we're designing for them, what we're delivering, and intellectually, you've got the goods, otherwise you wouldn't stump up to do it, if you know what I mean. There's no way you're going to front up to those guys unless you know.
Can I ask you, when it came to the UN, was it like I would imagine in your world it's a referral-based sort of thing? Like you have to... Quite often, have to speak to Sabre. They did this great thing for us.
Someone has to speak for you at that level because they're not going to get you off the internet. They're not going to be the executive PA who goes, I've got to run a teamy thing at the conference. Any, mini, money, I'm going to Google it. Yeah. It's all relationship-based. And those people, put it this way, mate, whoever recommends you's got their nuts on the block, to use that charming turn of phrase.
Thanks for the imagery.
Because if I don't understand. Mate, it's 2020 where that came from. The reality is if you front up and duff it, do a bad job, don't deliver what was expected, then the people that have referred you are covered in the same mud. Yeah. So, absolutely, it's referral-based. And therefore is extra, if you want professional angst and anxiety, that you can't let down any client, but you can't let down the people that have, gone out on a limb and referred you and recommended you as well. You know what it's like in business. You're only as good as your last gig, and you don't let down the end user or the client. You don't let down your referral network either.
So is it with 26 years of clients, are they, and I know you guys, you're friends to everyone, like you're...
Depends how this interview goes, Drew, as to whether we admit to owning you or knowing or not, mate.
Do you find yourself, well, we do at work all the time, like people will just call you about this and that, but now you're up here in UN doing things in Papua New Guinea. Are you in a separate category from the days of I don't even really know.
Do you
I'm
mean
asking
like
you.
business-wise?
Yeah,
With,
where is it for you now personally? Like
you move in
exactly.
you kind of meet people who professionally rate you in different higher circles, if that makes sense. But we still knock around with, enjoy the company of, and still do business in the same market and the same field that we do when we first started the business. And I guess that's the other thing that separates us. We'll still go and do the funsy, conferencey gigs at the 5-star resorts for the executive PAs who want the 2-hour teamy thing at the conference. We'll do the middle stuff. We'll do the international stuff where we go with these guys and whatever. So I guess, yeah, mate, I guess we do a bit of all of it.
Yeah.
I think too, one of the things that we both hold pretty importantly, is a lot of the guys that have worked for us, even if they've got to move on to other jobs or whatever it is, they still actually come and work for us. Some guys who have gone and done full-time gigs will come and facilitate for us, or and I think we both like that. We would never want to, we've always tried to really have good relationships with it, and we like the people we work with. Yeah. Fundamentally, that's really important to us to like who we work with, and really I could count on one hand the number of people who didn't fit because they just, for whatever reason, didn't gel. The people that we work with.
Well, we're careful who we work with.
Yeah, and what we do, we like them, and so even though you're doing these other things, it's the same but different, if that makes sense. It still gives us the same sense of satisfaction. We still enjoy our job. We're doing different things, but it's just our thing.
Well, it's one of the few privileges.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it really does. Because I'm one of those guys. I remember, Tal, when you first, when I first did some training with you, and you said exactly this. Your first words to hey guys, we've never actually had to look for staff. Because they've always been friends that just we'd call them up, hey, do you want to do some facilitating? But they've started to have kids and this and that, and time's thin. So that's how I met you guys,
Yeah, I'll never forget.
It turns out kids are good for something.
They are, mate, absolutely. But it's one of the rare privileges you have, you'd understand coming from family-owned businesses and you run your own businesses as well. One of the rare privileges you have, apart from being your own boss, which has its advantages and disadvantages, you've got that rare privilege of you can implement a no arsehole factor, a policy. You can work with who you want to work with, and you can avoid working with people that you don't like, especially if it's on the basis of ethics. And there are many times you'll work with people who are a surprise fit. They kind of fit the bill in an aptitude sense. They're likable, they're great people. They don't have what people would consider to be the conventional qualifications or the ticks in the box, but you got the rare privilege of being able to go, you know what, I've got a gut feel that person's going to work. And that's the one thing we value greatly is we can surround ourselves with people we like. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people can't do that. And I feel terribly sorry for them because that's why we have a business too. We see the implications, the ramifications of poorly composed teams every week because that's what we do for a living. We help make teams better, and there are a lot of good teams out there, don't get me wrong, but there are a lot of teams where they've not been composed with that level of care. And, oh boy, the prices you can pay for that are, interesting to say the least.
Now, I've revealed that, I do work with you guys every now and then, but I never, and you would know this, I never profess to know anything about, even though I have studied it, you guys are the expert with Belbin, okay? And now I know, so what I mean to say, I'm not treating this as an ad for you, really. I want to talk to you guys because you're interesting to me because look, all your kids are in this room right now.
Wave kids.
Yeah, but you somehow manage to fly in and out of everywhere, do all this sort of stuff, and still run a house on the Gold Coast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Now, but you've recently picked up Belbin as the rights in this country?
Yeah, Australian distributor, and mate, you hit on something that's very special to us as well, is that we've deliberately structured our business as soon as our eldest arrived, and he's now 14, we fundamentally altered the nature and the business model to everyone talks about work-life balance. Well, your business will pay a price for it, but we very early on decided, we're going to really shoot for that. And to be perfectly honest, if you're in a people business, which we're in, any price that we've paid business-wise for kind of, essentially changing our business model to be very family-friendly, I think we well and truly make up for it by having good people around us, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? We're real. Yeah. And the people that work with us, we extend the same privilege to them. You know, people who work with Sabre who have kids, we let them have the same flexibility and kind of weirdness around their schedule that we do. And I think when you front clients, they sense that you kind of have that balance. So, yeah, it's a good thing.
You just remind me of something that happened not long ago. You've got some sort of thing that you teach that has drums in it, And I remember some news show you're doing, right, that had a lot of drums in it, and it was for hundreds of people. Drew, come over. We're all going to come to our house on the Gold Coast, and we're going to learn these this thing we're doing with this particular thing with drums, okay? And it was hilarious to me that here I am in your lounge room, and we're all adults beating drums, right? And the kids would come in. We want to do homework after this, you know, like. But then they were joining in, and it was like a beautiful moment. Like
that's the way we roll, man. I remember that one of my best recollections.
Family that could probably really say that, like, and we're all adults with the kids, like learning this stuff.
Hey, mate,
like
family that screws around together, you know.
Yeah, the old days of what's that game everyone played before? Oh, is it charades?
Twister.
Charades?
Oh, yeah, charades.
When was the last time you played that? I remember when I was a kid. I remember when I was a kid. It was one of the things you did when the lights went out.
One of my best memories of you is you bringing a ute full of instruments around to our place one drunken evening on our back deck, trying to teach all of us to play Message to You, Rudy, by the Specials. And our neighbours still talk about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Some of them have varying opinions on the quality of the music that was produced, but
You're right, though. Our kids are really part of what goes on, and, you know, we've got other friends who are very good at building, you know, and I'll try and be quick, but they built their daughter this fabulous bedroom. Like, it's a boudoir. It's got, you know, an ensuite and beautiful walk-in wardrobe. And he's like, we're doing too much. And it's like, no, that's what you can give your kids. That's who you are, and that's the advantage of those kids being your kids. You know, for us, the advantage of our kids being, you know, for them of being our kids is they do get to do it. You know, they do get to learn to drum unusual beats. They come and work when we do charity jobs. You know, they'll come and facilitate. You know, even though they're young, they're learning how to do it. They see different people. They see the world of different jobs. They get that people and teams are different. And I like to think
that work doesn't have to be a factory in Slacks Creek.
It's not an onerous
We're all looking at this. We're all smiling. We're enjoying our work.
It's portable.
Yeah.
And they get to be...
You can be stern, but you don't have to be...
And they're learning how to deal with people, you know?
They're exposed to weirdness, but it's fun weirdness. and intelligent weirdness too. I mean, and I'm not just saying this to be nice, mate, but we came and saw, because of our association with you, one of your gigs, you know, at the Cooley Hotel, you know, a few weeks back. We brought those American guys that were with us, and as a result of what we've done professionally these last 26 years, we meet interesting people like you. You know, we're now doing a podcast with you that could end up anywhere in the world. It's like, you know, we met you through Sabre. We met so many of the interesting people that are now good friends, and we have interesting associations with, who are artists, musicians, you know, neuroscientists, ex-military people people all over the world who have very diverse and interesting backgrounds and fascinating. That's one of the gifts the company's given us, is a really, really interesting group of people that we know, and that's a privilege with what we do. And our kids are kind of able to tap into that, because unusual people will come and go from our house. When we take work trips, if we can tag the kids along, they'll meet these people, and that's all by osmosis filtering into their heads. And I think, wow, hopefully that cherry pick the bits that interest them, and not just the knowledge, but just how I've met these people that, crikey, I couldn't imagine as a kid meeting the people I've met through this business, you know.
And that's what, you know, when we were all growing up, the world was really different, and you knew the people in your suburb or your street, or, you know, just to show, you know, the life we live is literally global, you know, and I'm not talking about travel. I'm just talking about everything that comes and goes within your circle. It just makes you realise how much there is in the world to do and see, and that's what I really want the kids to take away, you know, that you can travel, but you don't have to. And there's, you know, you might want to be a doctor or a lawyer, or you might want to be some crazy job that we don't even know about. That there just is endless possibilities. And that's what I really think...
And you don't have to be a certain person to do
No.
it.
No.
Just be happy and I love the work of a folklorist and mythologist,